Okay, good morning, everyone. Ramadan Kareem, and welcome to the latest MEED webinar this month or this week, a very special webinar as we are going to be having a conversation with Red Sea Global RSG, one of the 5 official Giga projects in Saudi Arabia. And we'll be hearing directly live from Ben Edwards, who is the group head of cost, commercial and procurement at RSG, the man responsible for overseeing all procurement activities for tenders for the supply and construction of projects on the Giga project, on the tourism Giga project on the Red Sea coast. Fantastic project, which we'll see more about later. So the way the webinar is structured today is that I'll be giving a short 10-minute overview of the latest developments in the Saudi Arabia projects market. And then I'll be handing over to Ben, who will be giving an overview of the projects currently under construction that have already been built at RSG and on its 2 resorts in the Red Sea and Amala, and then taking a look at the procurement requirements and some future work requirements as well. At the end, after that presentation, Ben and I will be taking some questions. So as ever, if you do have any questions on the Red Sea Global project, whether it's on the project itself or how to tender, register or pre-qualify for the project, then Ben is going to be here taking your questions. So this is a fantastic opportunity, an exclusive opportunity for you to speak directly to one of the Giga project clients. Now, my name is Edward James. I'm the head of content and analysis at MEED. MEED, of course, is the business intelligence company looking at all major projects in the MENA region. And by collecting data on projects, we are able to quantify the latest trends and developments in the market. And during my presentation, you'll see some of those trends and some of those numbers which are used to display some of the analysis that we do. Okay, so that's the format of the day. As ever, this presentation or webinar is being recorded. And you will be able to have the opportunity to watch it or look at it yourself. I'll share it with your colleagues once we've uploaded it onto the internet. As well, this presentation itself, a hard copy in PDF, will be emailed to everyone who registered for this event in due course. So you'll be able to look at it in your own time and again share with any of your colleagues. So don't feel you have to note everything down today. You will have a chance to rewatch it with more leisure. Okay, just a couple of other things before I start my presentation. We are running a promotion currently on our latest Premium Intelligence report, the Saudi Giga Projects Premium Intelligence report, just recently been updated, and it is a report on everything you could possibly want to know about all of the Giga projects in Saudi Arabia. At the moment, there's a special discount applied for everyone who attends today. If you use that apply code there, webinar 100, you also get an additional $100 discount if you purchase the report before 28th of March. If you want to find out more about this report, you have a QR code on the bottom right-hand corner there. You can scan it with your cameras and it will take you to the website landing page where you'll be able to find out more details about this report and indeed our other premium intelligence reports. Okay, let's keep going. And also on the similar topic, we have in May in Riyadh on the 13th and 14th of May, 2 fantastic events, Saudi Giga Projects 2024, followed the next day by MENA Construction Summit 2024. The focus on the first day, as you can see, is really about the Giga Projects program. We'll be hearing directly from many of the clients who will be presenting their Giga Project plans, as well as being able to take questions and meet delegates face to face, which is a fantastic opportunity to network and get up close to understand the Giga Project personnel and their procurement opportunities. The next day, we'll have a MENA Construction Summit 2024, which is looking at the trends in construction in the region as a whole. So the two days are very closely interlinked. If you want to know more about this event, please use the QR code again, register now. It's a fantastic event. I was there last year, hundreds of clients and contractors, suppliers, consultants in the room, and I'll be looking forward to attending and seeing you all again, hopefully in May. Let's move on. Okay, let's kick off with a very quick contextual overview of the Saudi Arabia projects market. First up, we'll look at the overall GCC projects market in context. You can see here, and very evidently, that 2023 was a record year for the GCC projects market, hitting $209 billion of awards for project contracts across all sectors and all 6 GCC states. That smashed the previous record of $173 billion last seen in 2014, and comes as a welcome development after 7 or 8 years of quite low performance in line with falling oil prices. But the market roared back to life last year. A lot of it has been driven by the Giga Projects program, RSG included, as well as some big spending in the oil and gas space and power space as well. So record year last year, massive amounts of work, and I think that's demonstrated also by the number of people watching today looking at the Saudi Arabia market. Let's move on. Just in terms of that same data, this time by country, you can see that Saudi Arabia is by far the largest projects market, as you might expect in the GCC, some $95 billion of contracts awarded last year, followed by $81 billion of contracts in the UAE, a lot of which came from ADNOC spending in the oil and gas sector in Abu Dhabi, but also from a revival of the Dubai real estate market. And both of these markets, both of these geographies smashed their previous record highs. You can see growing between 30 and 70% year on year. So that's really the reason behind this acceleration in project activity, and is one of the reasons why the market clients everywhere are keen to attract as much contracting, supply and engineering capacity as possible into the region to help them deliver their project visions. Right, so before we go on, let's take a look at your views about the projects market and get your situation. So first question we asked today is your company already working on a large major project in Saudi Arabia? If you can just answer yes or no. It's a live poll, so we'll be able to see the answers as they come in. With any luck? Okay, so it looks as if there might be a glitch there with the poll. Here we are. Okay, as they come in. So, okay, so roughly 60-40 spread of 538 of you responded to this poll. 314, 58% are already working on a large project in Saudi Arabia, and 42% would like or are not working on a Saudi Arabia major project. And I assume since you're here on this webinar today, it's something you'll be looking at to do or want to do. Thank you very much. We'll have a couple more poll questions later. All right, and this is one of the reasons why we are looking at so much interest today, and particularly in Red Sea Global on the RSG, and this is the Giga Projects program in Saudi Arabia. We have some $880 billion of known, planned and unawarded major or Giga projects in Saudi Arabia. We have the 5 official ones in the top left: NEOM, Red Sea Global, Diriyah, Roshan, and Qiddiya. And of course, today we'll be looking more closely at Red Sea Global and the procurement opportunities there. We have many other PIF project companies below, like New Maraba, Rural Medina, Valley Downtown Company, and so on. And on the right-hand side, we've also got quite a lot of non-PIF Giga projects like King Salman Park, Green Riyadh, Sports Boulevard, and Al Ula. And then on the right-hand side, of course, we've got all these other major project programs in other sectors. For example, Aramco, naturally, National Water Company, and Jeddah Airport. So there's a massive, significant project opportunity in Saudi Arabia, and this is why everyone is talking about it right now, and everyone is looking to get into the kingdom to see what they can do to contribute to this massive project growth, and very, very exciting program of capital expenditure under the Vision 2030 program. Let's move on. This is just a summary slide here indicating some of the projects, but brief description of them as well, where they're located. And as I said earlier, Red Sea Global, two major, beautiful tourism destinations on the Red Sea coast. You can see highlighted there. One of them is Amala. The other one is the Red Sea project, and well under progress now. We'll get a glimpse of some of the latest developments of them, as well as some of the procurement opportunities from Ben in a sec. So we're only $80 billion awarded so far, so just 10% of the way into the known Giga Projects program in the kingdom, and no doubt, I believe there'll be many more announced over the course of the next 12 months. Let's just look at the recent performance of the Saudi Arabian market by sector. And you can see clearly the impact on the Giga Project program in the kingdom. We've seen a very sharp rise in construction sector activity over the last 3 years. That's hotels, malls, buildings, towers, villas, schools, hospitals, and so on. A big jump from 2020 levels, as you can see, more than doubling. And likewise, transport, which incorporates also infrastructure, groundworks, earthworks, tunneling, as well as railways, metros, airports, and so on, also seeing a big jump over the last 2 to 3 years. And even power, there is a major power aspect to all of the Giga projects. Most of them are going to be net zero, carbon neutral, and have their own renewable energy and storage projects, as well as sustainable desalination, cooling, and so on. So major catalysts for growth in the kingdom. And then just seeing who the largest non-regional contractors are in Saudi Arabia by value of work under execution. And I've used this slide just to highlight that Saudi Arabia always has been and is currently a market open to international competition. So international contractors compete and win work against local firms, and that's the same for consultants, for suppliers, material equipment suppliers as well, any other services related to projects. The market is open and is increasingly open and looking to attract more companies into the space to help it deliver its program. So this here just shows you companies from Italy, Greece, China, India, Spain, UAE, Belgium, and so on, France, are all very active in the market today. So it's open market for everyone. Right, now another interesting question, especially given the amount of work currently out in the market coming up. Does your company have the capacity to add to its workload over the next 3, 6, 12, or 18 months? How stretched is everyone? Let's take a look. Just give everyone a chance to answer. So it'll be very interesting to see exactly how much capacity everyone has to increase their workload. Because it is a common topic, it is a common conversation topic as the amount of work increases. Okay, can we display the results? Here we are. Right. So interesting. So nearly half of all companies have the ability or capacity to increase to their workload now or over the next 3 months, basically in the short term, a quarter over the next 6 months, and then 20% between 12 and 18%. So that's interesting. So it's a good nearly 30% of companies do not have the ability to increase their workload over their next year to year and a half. But fortunately, 60% or so do have the ability to increase their work in the short term. Great, let's move on. Now just look very quickly at the future. Seen the past, now let's look forward. So we saw a brilliant year last year. Is the market maintaining this into 2024? The answer is yes. This is just an illustration of some of the major contracts awarded in the last 2.5 months. You can see very diversified across different sectors, and obviously offering a lot of current opportunities. Some $19 billion of contracts have been awarded as of a couple of days ago. When you prorata that, you can see that we're on track to maintain that fantastic performance that we saw last year of $95 billion in the kingdom awarded. So we're maintaining that momentum into this year. Next slide, please. And then just in terms of the short-term outlook, let's take just into account the value of projects in tender or bid evaluation by country. You can see that Saudi Arabia has about $107 billion of tenders out to market or under bid evaluation at the moment. And that's more than half of the total value of contracts in a similar situation in the GCC, which normally you would expect to be awarded over the next month to 6 months. So it's a very strong indicator of the pipeline of total activity. In total, $194 billion of worth of contracts actually out in the market today, which you would normally expect to be awarded over the next year. And then just looking at those breakdown of those markets, you can see that data by sector, you can see a very good split between construction, transport, oil and gas and power and water. And indeed, that's also illustrative of Saudi Arabia as a whole. And then finally, the long-term outlook. So just looking quickly at some of the big contracts expected to be awarded this year out in the market right now, tender and bid evaluation and PQ. You can see there just some of those big projects: power, construction, metros, water projects, manufacturing facilities, tourism facilities, and so on. Again, a lot of opportunities across a lot of sectors, and you can see some big projects there. And then in terms of the long-term pipeline, well, again, Saudi Arabia is a clear leader in terms of the 10 to 15-year project horizon. Some $1.53 trillion of known, planned, and unawarded projects in the kingdom, out of $2.7 trillion for the GCC as a whole. So it's by far and away the largest market. UAE next at 600 billion, and then Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain between 60 and 211 billion each. And on the right-hand side, you can see the breakdown by sector. You can see construction, about 56% of the future pipeline. That's mixed use, hotels, leisure, villas, residential, commercial, and so forth. And then transport, $400 billion, infrastructure, railways, ports, airports, and metros, and so on. And then all the other sectors, which also have very substantial pipelines as well. Final question, which of the below types of project does your company prefer to work on? So that's greenfield new projects, brownfield retrofit or redevelopment projects, or we have no preference. We're happy to take on either work. So we're just curious to know what everyone's focus is, whether it's on greenfield, brownfield, or both. Let's wait for it to calculate all the votes. Let's reveal them now. And there we are. So vast majority, nearly 2/3 of you don't have a preference. 30% of you want to focus primarily on greenfield new projects, and only 5% prefer to work on brownfield retrofit development projects. Thank you very much for that. Very useful information. Just before we move on to Red Sea Global's presentation, just again, reminder to check out our latest premium intelligence report on the Giga Projects market, where you'll be able to get a lot more information, data on each of the Giga projects themselves. QR code there for you to scan if you want to know more. So please do so. Also, just a reminder, submit your questions in the Q&A box. It's a unique opportunity to ask Red Sea Global any questions you have about the procurement pre-qualification process, as well as future demand, and Ben will be happy to take your questions. Also, finally, MEED offers obviously a lot of different solutions, databases, projects tracking, news and features, websites, content, marketing solutions, events, and premium intelligence reports. If you don't mind, just quickly select if any of these you would like to receive more information on, and then we'll move on to the final slide. And then while we're waiting for that to update, if you don't mind, I would appreciate if all of you, after this presentation, could take this short projects market survey about capacity requirements and other major challenges in the projects market currently. If you do take that survey and complete it, you have the option of obtaining a free projects report from us. So it's well worth taking the time to do that. The QR code is there, take you to the landing page of the survey. If you can do that, that would be extremely useful for us, and I'd be very grateful. Okay, so that's it from me. You'll be glad to know. We are now going to move on to Red Sea Global, and as I said earlier, I'm delighted and honored to have with us Ben Edwards, Group Head of Cross Commercial and Procurement at Red Sea Global, RSG, who will give now a presentation on the Red Sea Global project, outlining the progress and some of the procurement opportunities and contract opportunities that contractors and consultants and suppliers can take advantage of, as well as how to participate on their projects. Ben will be taking questions afterwards live here today. So if you do have any questions for him or RSG in general, please submit them in the Q&A box, and we, in 20-30 minutes or so, we'll get round to asking them. So that's it for me for now. I'll be back in a minute in the Q&A, but right now I'll turn over to Ben Edwards from RSG to go through his presentation. Welcome, Ben, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, everybody.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about your Giga project.
Great. Thanks very much for the introduction, Ed. Good morning, everybody. Salam alaikum and Ramadan Kareem to those of you who are observing the holy month. So I'm delighted to be joining you this morning. I'm actually sat in a project office on one of our Amala destination construction sites at the moment. So I should be pleased to show you some more information on that as we go through. So moving on to the next slide. Sorry, next slide as well, please. So who are Red Sea Global? Red Sea Global are the developer behind the world's most ambitious regenerative tourist destination developments, the Red Sea destination and the Amala destination. We set out at the beginning of these projects to put people and planet first in everything that we do, by leveraging innovative concepts and technologies to deliver the developments that actively enhance the well-beings of the guests, the communities that we're constructing within, and also the natural environment of the two destinations. Tourism, as you are all aware, I'm sure, is a cornerstone of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, and through the projects that we are developing and the resorts that we're creating, we will transform the nation, creating big economic opportunities for the people of Saudi Arabia, and actively enhancing the rich environmental and cultural heritage here in the kingdom. Moving on to the next slide, please. So the two destinations, Red Sea and Amala, are key. They were born out of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 strategy for economic diversification, and they will very firmly put Saudi Arabia on the global tourism map, as you'll see as we go through the remaining slides. We're going beyond sustainability to achieve regeneration in the projects that we're constructing, creating a lot of opportunities for talented Saudi men and women, and most importantly, opening up Saudi Arabia to the rest of the world. Moving on to the next slide, we are pioneering sustainability standards in everything that we do across the portfolio of projects, setting new standards for sustainable development, and pioneering this new partnership between construction, development, tourism, and the natural environment to achieve a better tomorrow. So we are a leader in sustainable development. We're preserving and protecting and enhancing the environments within which we're working. Our destinations will be free of single-use plastics. They're designed and constructed to be carbon neutral. We're not sending any waste to landfill. Both the Red Sea and Amala destinations are entirely powered off-grid using renewable energy. And we're targeting a 30% net positive conservation benefit on the destinations. All of the buildings are designed and constructed to LEED Platinum building standards. So moving on to the socio-economic benefits and employment opportunities, as you can see from the data on the slide in front of you, total jobs created by the Red Sea destination is around 70,000 and around 50,000 with the Amala destination. Significant GDP contributions both during the construction and then during the operation steady state phase of the projects, and then some spin-off things from the developments, such as hospitality scholarships, vocational training, and elite graduate training programs on the job training, so that we are passing on the skills, developing the skills, and creating new job opportunities within the Saudi economy, for now and for the future. Moving on to the Red Sea destination in a little bit more information, in a little bit more detail. The slide that you see in front of you here is a map of an area known as the Al Waj Lagoon. This, to give you an idea of the scale, is about 60 kilometers from north to south, and we're currently working on the two of the outermost western islands and the southernmost island. So phase one consists of 16 hotels. So 14 of those are on island locations, and then we have 2 inland hotels. So if I start with the 2 inland hotels, in the bottom right-hand corner, you have the Six Senses at Southern Dunes. This resort actually opened to the public in November last year. So that has paying guests in it. The next inland resort up in the top right-hand corner of the slide is the Desert Rock Hotel, which will open later this year. And then on the island hotels, starting in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the Umahat St. Regis Resort, which is now open to the public, and then the Ritz-Carlton Reserve Umahat Islands, which is opening very shortly. And then moving down to the sort of southernmost ones of those islands, we have the Shea Bar, a private resort, and then our main feeder island for phase one is the Shura Island, which has 11 hotels and a golf course on it. This is all backed up by a large sort of back of house facility. So we have effectively a small town that we've constructed on the land side next to the Red Sea destination, and that will be the home to all of the people who live at the Red Sea and operate and work at the hotels going forwards. So moving on to the next slide, we have a glimpse into the master plan for the Amala destination. So this is where I am today. So the first phase of Amala is centered around an area called Triple Bay. We also have the Staff Village project under construction, and then future phases of the project include Triple Bay Phase 2, Triple Bay North, and then we have the island project further north still. So moving on to the next slide, we'll look at the Red Sea destination. So this is the first few resorts. So the Six Senses that I mentioned at Southern Dune, it's open to the public, been getting great reviews. It's a spectacular hotel, which we're really proud of. We then have the St. Regis, which is also open, and the Ritz-Carlton Reserve, which will be opening very shortly. So moving on to the next slide, we can look at the Six Senses in a little bit more detail. So this is located about 20 kilometers inland, in a spectacular area where the mountains meet the sand dunes. It was designed by Foster and Partners. It's a mixture of individual villas and then some circular hotel rooms. Very thoughtfully laid out. Wherever you are in any of the guest bedrooms in this resort, you have these spectacular views out across the desert landscape or the rugged mountain landscape. So really quite spectacular. Moving on to the next slide, this gives you a glimpse into the St. Regis Hotel. This is a mixture of overwater villas and beachfront villas. Quite Maldives style in terms of some of the architecture there, but here in the amazing crystal clear water of the Red Seas of Saudi Arabia. Moving on to the next slide, we've got the Najuma. No, we've gone 2 slides there. Sorry, go back 1. This is the Najuma Ritz-Carlton Reserve. So this is the next destination, which is very shortly going to be opening. Again, it's a mixture of overwater villas and beachfront villas. Very spectacular. Again, you can see this amazing crystal clear water that the development has been constructed next to. Moving on to the next slide. This is our Shaybara resort. This will open later this year. This is a destination that will be owned and operated by Red Sea Global themselves. Those of you who've seen our social media have no doubt seen these stainless steel orbs. They were manufactured at a facility in our Hamra Free Zone in Sharjah and put onto a flat bottom deck carrier and shipped around and then craned into place in their final homes, either as beachfront villas or as overwater villas. If we can move on to the next slide. Out of everything we're building at the moment, this is my favourite one, if I'm allowed to have a favourite. Desert Rock Hotel. This is just it's a once in a lifetime hotel as a constructor of hotels to me. This is drilled and blasted into the side of a mountain to form these cave unit bedrooms. We have also villas in crevices in the side of the mountain. We have villas in wadis. It's a very, very rugged landscape that the hotel is constructed in, spread out over quite a large area, and you, as a guest, you will access your various facilities within the hotel by being transported by golf buggy between them. So this will be opening to the public later this year, and will be an amazing guest experience when it's completed. So if we could move on to the next slide. I mentioned earlier on the back of house facilities that we have within Red Sea. So this is a CGI of the Turtle Bay area. So this consists of a hotel, and then we have villas and townhouses. We have 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. We have some studio apartments, and then we have the workers' accommodation buildings. If we move on to the next slide, you'll see that this is actually being constructed, most of it now. So we made a deliberate effort to accelerate the construction of these. So when I go up on my visits, I stay in the Turtle Bay Hotel. A lot of our construction staff are very pleased to be living in villas and townhouses and apartments and studios rather than in metal cabins. And this is a real, growing community, which will be an amazing place to live, in the future for the hotel operator staff. When we get into the full operational phase of the hotel, we have facilities, in the planning stage at the moment. We'll be starting building a school there and a hospital shortly. There's a professional beach club. There are sports facilities, cricket pitches, five-a-side football pitches, etc. there. So it's going to be an amazing place for people to live. Moving on to the next slide. I mentioned earlier the Turtle Bay Hotel. So this is being used again during the construction phase for our staff and visitors, consultants to stay at, who are there on short-term visits. If we move on to the next slide, the Shura Island is the main feeder island for phase 1. So as I mentioned, there are 11 hotels under construction there at the moment, set around an 18-hole golf course. I had the privilege of visiting several projects there yesterday. It's an absolute hive of construction activity, thousands of workers, hundreds of different contractors, and it's really amazing to see it coming to life. And as you can see from that slide, there are lots of very well-known global hotel brands there in the luxury hotel sector. Moving on to the next slide, you have a couple of images there of the first main image. There is the golf clubhouse, which is rapidly nearing completion, and then the golf villas, which are set around the greens and the fairways of the golf course itself. Very pleased to see, as I drove through there yesterday, some of the tee boxes have been grassed, and we have fairways with grass growing away on those. So it's very rapidly changing the landscape there from desert construction site to vibrant green golf course. So proud to see that one coming into shape. If we can move on to the next slide, please. This is the Shura Island coral bloom. So the main image here is actually the construction status of the first CGI that Ed had at the beginning, which is also shown here on the left-hand side of the image. So in its completed state, these petals surrounding the hotel structure give the appearance of a coral bloom. So very unique and spectacular hotel with a large retail, dining and entertainment section spread in the tail that spans out from it. And then, you know, we have various other hotel assets you know, under construction there for the remainder of the hotels. If you could move on to the next slide. These are just some more images of the construction status. So Shura Island is joined to the mainland by a causeway bridge that we completed in the autumn of 2022. So Arky Rodon constructed that for us, and that gives us, you know, very easy access, land-based access to get to and from the island. Moving on to the next slide. Just to give you a glimpse into some of the other things that we're involved in as Red Sea. We're very rapidly moving from being a developer and a builder of hotels to actually an owner and an operator of hotels, and all of the things that come from that. So our operations work streams, which there are 11 of them that subdivide into further divisions afterwards, cover such things as marine mobility, air mobility, transporting guests from the airport to the island hotels by seaplane. We have a fleet of electric cars and buses to transport staff, transport guests to and from the hotels and the airports. So it's a very wide portfolio of things that comes through the departments which I look after in the organisation nowadays. So the air taxi terminal, so this is in the full operational phase of the airport. This will be the operations base for the seaplane business. We currently operate 4 seaplanes, and that will grow several times over between now and 2030 as we continue to grow the development and the number of guests increases. This is the main terminal building of the international airport itself. The airside works are complete. There are a couple of flights a week between there and Riyadh, and also between there and Jeddah. And the main terminal building, you know, construction is racing ahead on that one. Moving on to the next slide, some of the other things that we have at the Red Sea destination. We have a lot of greenery. So early on in the development, we saw the need to build our own landscape nursery to act as a growing and a staging area for all the plants and trees and shrubs that we needed for the various projects. So it's 100 hectares. It's one of the biggest ones in the region. I mentioned early on that both the Red Sea and the Amala destinations are entirely off-grid. So we've installed now at the Red Sea destination over 760,000 PV panels at 5 solar parks, and also one of the world's largest battery storage facilities to provide clean, renewable energy to the destination. On the other side of the utilities, we have a reverse osmosis saltwater treatment plants for our drinking water production, and then we have constructed wetlands to do all of the wastewater treatment, and then the treated sewage effluent is recycled back into the resorts themselves to irrigate all of the green space. Moving on to the next slide. So this is a summary of the Red Sea destination between now and 2030. So as I mentioned at the start of the slides, you can see that we're working at the south of the Al Waj Lagoon and just with these 2 inland sites at the moment. This gradually increases as we move through 2027 through into 2030. So as we move further north up through the lagoon, and we pick up another couple of inland hotel sites. So by 2030, we will have developed around 50 hotels in total in the Red Sea destination across 22 islands and 6 inland destinations. So quite a significant amount of work still to go. Just a reminder that we will have questions and answers at the end, so feel free to add your questions into the chat box Alex and Ed and I will do our best to answer them when we get to that point. So moving on to the Amala destination, as I say, this is where I'm sat today. So this first slide is a CGI of the Marina, Triple Bay Marina Village area. So this is going to be a very key part of the Phase 1 Amala destination. It is the home of the Red Sea Marine Life Institute, which has recently been launched under our Corallium brand. This is a working marine life research institute and a visitor attraction that tourists can come into and learn all about the rich, marine life within the Red Sea. The yacht club is the key focal point around the marina. The marina is a man-made marina, and then it's surrounded by various hotels, the Equinox Hotel, Lifestyle Hotel, and the Ritz-Carlton. If we move on to the next slide, you will see that here at Red Sea Global, we're not just talking about it, we're definitely doing it. This is the marina, which has been flooded. I'm sorry to say these aren't the latest pictures, because we actually opened the channel that you see in the main photograph at the top left side. We excavated the channel last week, and that is now opened up and filled with seawater. And it's a hive of construction activity with the Red Sea Marine Life Institute, the Yacht Club, the Village Boutique Hotel, and the Marina Lifestyle Hotel and Village, all racing ahead. Moving on to the next slide, and on to the next bay south in the Triple Bay area, we have the Six Senses Resort. If we can move on to the next slide, we then have the Rosewood Resort is the next one down. It's 110 hotel keys across 26 units of branded residence. And then the Four Seasons Resort is the next one in line from that. Moving on to the next slide, we have the Triple Bay Central. Some images here of the construction racing ahead here on site. This is the home of the Four Seasons Resort, the Six Senses Resort, and the Rosewood. So again, it's very swiftly coming to life, not just CGIs. The Triple Bay Wellness Core. This is actually where I'm sat today. I'm somewhere in the Medical Wellness Resort site offices. Not visible from that picture. Move on to the next slide. You'll see some images of the actual construction status of the projects today. And if you go on to the next one, here at Amala, we also have a private aviation airport and runway. And as with the Red Sea, if we could move on to the next slide, we have a large staff village at Amala, which, when it's finished, will be home to about 18,000 people. In very similar fashion to the Red Sea destination, this consists of there's a hotel, it has villas, townhouses, apartments, it has the Z-type accommodations for the workers, and then it has all of the back of house facilities such as the police and the fire station, and all of the support services that are needed for those residential areas. If you move on to the next slide, you'll see that the construction of that is racing ahead. And then moving on to the next slide, we have our construction village. So this is where I spent the night last night. It's an amazing facility. It's got really great facilities there. The canteens are very good. We've got good sports and recreational facilities. They took great pride in showing me the golf simulator there last night. It didn't improve my golf shot in the slightest, but the guys are enjoying it, I'm sure. And then the shared facilities hub. So both at Red Sea and Amala, we have quite significant logistics facilities, which will be home to frozen storage, chilled storage, and ambient food storage for food and beverage deliveries coming up from Jeddah, and then going into our storage facilities and then being distributed out to the hotels. So the Amala summary, as you see, here we are in 2024, 2025. We're working in the Triple Bay area, and then we move on to phase 2 in 26, and then by 2030, the development grows up to 29 hotels across those 4 areas. So moving on to our contracting approach at Red Sea Global. So if you go on to the next slide, we've taken a completely different approach to the historical Saudi model of large projects, where there's the employer, a PMC, and an EPC contractor. We've adopted a construction management approach, so we actually break the majority of our projects down into trade packages, typically around 30 trade packages per construction project, and we directly engage with the specialist suppliers, cut out the middleman of the main contractors. And we do a lot of the management of those packages ourselves, directly with our staff, and so we reduce reliance on consultants. Moving on to the next slide, our approach to those contracts in order to make it a success is again more flexible than has been the norm in Saudi Arabia from when I first started working here. We don't require tender bonds. We have a range of forms of contracts ranging from a short form for minor works, a long form based on FIDIC for larger value or more complex works. The payment terms are a lot more favourable than Saudi has been renowned for in the past, and will continue to improve, I'm sure. We have a variable and flexible approach to advance payment. 10% doesn't work for everybody. When you're trying to encourage people to manufacture things off-site, giving them a 10% off, 10% advance payment doesn't work with that. So we have a flexible approach to how much we're prepared to pay to advance payments with suitable guarantees in place. And all of our supply chain benefit from timely payment that's coming directly from the employer. Our performance bonds are released at taking over, and we have a flexible approach to retention where it can be replaced with retention bonds and cash retentions returned to contractors. We've done quite a lot of procurement to date. Last year actually finished up at 27.2 billion in construction contracts in 2023. This year looks to be fairly similar in terms of value, and we have, as a developer, we have a growing portfolio of further projects which are at various stages of the master planning stage. So significant opportunities for Red Sea Global to continue to grow, which means lots of opportunities for you in the supply chain. If you could just move on to the last slide. This is an important one, so I encourage anybody who hasn't registered with us as a vendor, please scan the QR code that is on the screen. That will guide you to our vendor registration page. The vendor registration is in two parts. First of all, you'll be asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement and a global code of conduct. Thereafter, the system, when you upload those back, the system generates a vendor registration number for you, and you will then be contacted by our vendor registration team who will ask you for some further documents, details of your portfolio of past projects, your commercial registration, your QA certifications, etc., your size and scale, and thereafter you're invited to a capability presentation meeting where you get to meet representatives applicable to your area of expertise from Red Sea Global. So if you're a piling contractor, you'll meet people in the organisation who are specialists in piling, not people who are specialised in aluminium glazing and curtain wall. And those are the opportunities to start the relationship with Red Sea Global. So please scan the code and register as a vendor if you haven't already. And that is me done. So thank you very much, Shukran, and I'll pass you back over to Ed.
Thank you, Ben. Wow, just wow. That is an amazing project. And we're not just talking theory here, we're actually seeing it in practice, those photos showing how much development's already taken place. And indeed, you've already got some hotels open. So congratulations for such an amazing sort of development process. It's clearly very successful. And I would encourage everyone here today to go to the registration page, and if you like what you've seen and think you can contribute to the development of Red Sea Global, whether you're a supplier or contractor, then please do so. It's been designed to be as easy and quick as possible. And I think it's fair to say RSG, Red Sea Global, are very interested in more companies registering to work for them. So please go ahead and do so. Okay, so we're now going to take some questions directly for Ben, who will hopefully give you some more detail about and detailed responses to some of them. If you do have any questions about how to register, about the procurement strategy and model, or any questions about anything with regards to your potential participation in the project, please put them in the Q&A box, and we'll make sure to ask them now to Ben. And again, just before we do so, just a reminder, this presentation is being recorded. You will also receive it in your emails if you've registered for this webinar. and probably next week it'll be uploaded to the internet, so you will be able to watch it in your own time. Okay, Ben, I'll kick off with a couple of questions myself. I'm very curious to know more. It's been obviously a very successful process so far, but it is only the beginning. As I can see, you've got phases up to 2030, and you've got 9 further projects under master plan development. So is it fair to say we're only really at the start of the RSG journey, and that there's still hundreds, if not thousands, of potential opportunities for companies to come?
Absolutely, Ed. We're just starting, so just getting started. But you know, as you can see, the amazing thing about these projects is that they are, you know, they're coming to life already. We've got paying customers in the first, you know, couple of hotels, and that will continue to, you know, to progressively launch more hotels at the Red Sea destination this year, and then, you know, next year for launches is going to be a massive year for us as an organisation, and you know, we will be announcing further projects, I'm sure, as we carry on through this year. So really exciting times.
So for those companies watching today, there's still an enormous number of opportunities potentially over the next few years.
Absolutely.
It's not too
look,
yeah.
Here in Saudi Arabia, you know, from your slides at the beginning of the presentation, it's self-evident that as the Giga Projects program, you know, gathers pace, we're just scratching the surface of it at the moment with 80 billion out of the, you know, 800 billion, you know, committed contracts, and we're all fishing from the same pool of resources. So as the, you know, the demand increases, you know, we've got to continuously be looking for new suppliers, new people to collaborate with some projects, and, you know, to work on delivering this vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very, very exciting. And I'm sure there are many companies here thinking, well, I want to participate, but I haven't got any experience in the Middle East or any experience in Saudi Arabia. Does that matter? Can I compete for these projects outside of Saudi?
Absolutely, yes, is the answer. You know, we're working with companies from across the region and across the, you know, the globe now. Saudi Arabia, you know, if I can give one message to everybody on, you know, on the webinar today, Saudi Arabia is open for business. It is so much easier to do business here now than it was, you know, when I first came here as a contractor in 2012. It was quite painful, and there used to be a vicious circle about visa quotas and awarded contracts. As you came in as a new entry to the market, you had to have a visa quota before you could win a contract, and without a visa quota, you couldn't win a contract. So it was a challenge, to say the least. The Ministry of Investment has, you know, made the systems and process of registering companies so much easier. I was on a PIF roadshow in Europe with one of my colleagues, Mohammed Al-Fadan, who's the head of procurement at Red Sea Global last year. And one of the companies was asking a question about registering a company in Saudi Arabia. A lady from the Ministry of Investment took this gentleman off to the side of the meeting room we were in, and about 20 minutes later, he'd registered his company. So it's, you know, an awful lot quicker. It's all online. Ministry of Investment has specialist teams that are there to guide people through the process and help them. And I really, you know, encourage everybody to take another look. Don't think that Saudi today is Saudi as it was, you know, a decade ago. It's you know, it's open for business.
And it's also, you've made it as easy, or facilitated it as much as easy as possible for companies to register and as a vendor. It's a pretty quick process, as I understand, but it's only possible through the website, your website.
Absolutely, and as I mentioned before, it's a two-part process. So you know, I shouldn't use the word really, but it's almost a trap, the first part with the Global Code of Conduct and the NDA, because when you get the registration number, we've seen people, unfortunately, who've got the automatically generated vendor registration number and thought that was it, that they were registered, and then, you know, wondered why they haven't received any inquiries, etc. And it's, you know, what's happened is when they've been asked to provide the further documents, it's got lost in somebody's inbox, it hasn't been actioned, and the registration's not been completed. So you know, it is a two-part process, and it's as quick as the participants in the process are. So the quicker that you know, that prospective suppliers can upload their documents, and you know, our team will review them as quickly as they can and arrange those you know, those sort of capability presentation meetings, which are usually on Microsoft Teams, so there's no travel or anything involved in them, and then you'll start to receive inquiries. But you yourself, Ed, know from the events that we held overseas last year, you know, these events that we run are very very much led to new contract awards to companies from outside the kingdom, and in some cases multiple contract awards to those companies that we've engaged with from overseas. So they've been hugely successful for us, which is why we're continuing them.
Yes, there's a clear record of companies not having maybe been that active in the kingdom before coming onto Red Sea Global Projects and winning work, and you receive tenders straight away once you're registered. Yeah. Okay. That is it from me, but now I'm going to turn over to you all listening today. You've submitted, I can see, more than 100 questions, which directed for Ben, and I can see now a lot of them about how to register or pre-qualify for RSG projects. And again, just to reiterate for those of you who've asked that question, it's to use the QR code you've just seen on the webinar, or go directly to the RSG website. And I think it's a vendor. Here we are. Here's the QR code, which will take you straight to the registration page on RSG website, where you will have the opportunity to kickstart that vendor registration process and start receiving tenders shortly after, once you've been fully registered for their projects. And I'm sure I see a few questions, Ben, about some companies saying, well, do we have to work through contractors, or do we work directly with RSG? And it's an interesting, you mentioned it earlier, of an interesting sort of procurement model where you are acting as construction managers. So you're directly tendering for supplies and services which may normally be procured directly by the main contractor.
Yes, absolutely. It's a construction management approach. I mean, there are a small number of assets on both Red Sea and here at Amala, where we have engaged general contractors to build the projects. They are typically guest-facing assets, where it's guest-facing assets, and the look and feel of the finished product is very important to us. We feel that the construction management approach gives us more direct sort of control and influence over those really important facets of those developments.
And I also see there's quite a few questions or comments about the registration process, and I think which goes back to what you said about it being a two-stage process. The initial stage, you said, submitting an NDA and a code of conduct form, and then coming back to you to complete the registration. So I believe there are a few companies here which are saying that they might have done the first step but not completed the second step, which is why they may not have received tenders to date. So I think, Ben, that's an important distinction, isn't it, to make?
Yes, absolutely. So what I would say is anybody who has completed the registration process and has had their capability meeting with the vendor management team, if you haven't been receiving any bids there afterwards, then please reach out directly to the contacts that you have within our vendor registration team, and follow up with them, and they will, they'll be able to answer questions for you.
Here's an interesting comment. One of the attendees can't quite believe that they've seen actual photos in the presentation rather than renders, but it is true to say you actually this is all reality. You can go, people can go and touch them themselves if they don't believe it.
Ed, it's what makes these presentations such a pleasure to deliver, because once I start showing these pictures and people can see that we are actually building it, they're not really listening to me, they're looking at the pictures and saying, wow, that's in Saudi Arabia. But yes, it's under construction, it's been built, and yes, it's in Saudi Arabia. It's, the destinations are both absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely. And just a couple of quick questions we've had about technology, construction technology, particularly around BIM, AI, and some other technologies. Do you specify, or are you welcoming the use of construction technology on your projects? And then by extension, also looking at LEED, if you can talk a little bit more about the requirements for some of these projects that you have.
So the first one on the technology, yes, definitely. We use BIM throughout the life cycle of a project, from really from feasibility planning stages through all the development and design stage gates, through construction, through as-built drawings, and then into the operation stages. So it underpins everything that we do. In terms of LEED, I mentioned earlier on in the presentation that our designs has a focus on the LEED Platinum standard, and the buildings are designed and constructed in accordance with those requirements. I'm afraid I'm not an expert in those, so I'm not going to make it up. But it's a requirement for us in all of our projects, and something that's very important in terms of our sustainability credentials as a developer.
Also got a number of questions about how long it takes to register, and I think you've already answered that by saying, well, it's really up to the vendor, but from your side, it's pretty quick. Yeah,
absolutely. We see them as quickly as a week. I would say that typically, if we took, say, Qatar, you and I were in Qatar in March last year. So in Qatar, we met 100 new vendors who went through the registration process, and it was 6 months after that before we made the first contract awards. So during that period of time, if you think there's a 4-month tender process and negotiation process for a big contract, that probably means that the average between engaging initially with those companies and then being through our registration process and receiving tenders is 2 months. If you've gone beyond 2 months, I would suggest that you need to reach back to the vendor registration team and check why. You should, after the registration's been completed, you should be regularly receiving updates from us. One of the things that we're working on behind the scenes at the moment with the marketing team is a section that we're going to have on our website called Red Sea Marketplace, and that's going to be a look forward at what we've got coming up in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, so that vendors can regularly click on it and see an update of what's in the pipeline, so that they know that there's a cladding and glazing for such and such hotel that's due to come out in April, and can have it on their radar. It helps everybody, it helps us, and it helps people from planning their resources. I appreciate that contractors and specialist suppliers don't have infinite resources to price projects, and you have to be selective in what you're pricing and who you're pricing it for. So I get all of that.
Yes, that's great that you said that, because there are a few questions around looking forward for companies interested in a sort of procurement plan for the next 12 months. So that is certainly something people would be interested in understanding what the potential is. But I hope that this webinar has given quite a good understanding to everyone about some of those, what is still required, and beyond. Couple of questions here about what if you want to invest in the project? Potential investors don't go through the procurement portal, do they, or do they reach out directly?
Yeah, they reach out directly to Red Sea, details on the website. But we have a number of investors now in the hotels, and also as we move on with both the Red Sea and the Amala destination, we will have private residential and branded residential in the hotels, which will be available for investment opportunities. So as we grow, the opportunities grow.
Okay, so some companies saying, what if we are a contractor based in another market or registered outside of Saudi? Do we need to register locally to provide services, or can we remain external?
So both options are open. Generally we find that companies may bid from an overseas entity, but they'll find it easier to do business here with a branch or with a subsidiary company set up within the kingdom, and that's something that certainly supports the strategic objectives of Vision 2030. So we encourage it to anybody that isn't registered here in the kingdom to go ahead and do it. You've seen from Ed's slides earlier on that by far the largest market over the next decade in the region is going to be Saudi Arabia, and you've got to be in it to win it. So yes, you can participate from overseas, but we do encourage everybody to look at ways of getting a footprint here into Saudi Arabia.
And I see a couple of questions about the renewables element, the district cooling desalination. These are being done on a PPP basis, if I'm not mistaken, through
Yes,
through a third-party developer.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you saw from the Red Sea slides, that's largely complete now, the phase 1 PPP, and is providing the renewable energy to the development. The Amala PPP has been awarded, and it's going to start construction very shortly. But this is a model that we will continue to use in our destinations. So going forward, so as we start to launch that pipeline of future projects that we've alluded to a couple of times during today's presentation, there will be further PPP opportunities and major infrastructure opportunities as those destinations get launched.
And again, some questions around the theme of, if I'm a supplier, especially if I'm a specialist or SME supplier, it's important to register with you directly, isn't it? Regardless of your product.
It is. Yeah. I think because of the way that we do our vendor registration process, where we invite these capability presentation meetings, where those whatever company, whatever size you are, whatever scale, you get the opportunity to present your capabilities, your past projects, what type of projects you're interested in participating with Red Sea Global, with the people who are the subject matter experts in that particular field. So if it's to do with seaplanes, then you'll be talking to our seaplane operations colleagues. As I say, if it's piling, it'll be people who know and understand about piling. So and we find that those capability presentation meetings, even for the specialist suppliers manufacturers, give them the opportunity to showcase their products, which then those in-house experts that we have will then turn around and say, oh, hold on a moment, I saw some electrical products that all came in sustainable packaging. Let's get them specified on our project going forwards. And it's a route into everything. So the starting point for any relationship with us is please follow the vendor registration process.
Okay, and also got a question saying, well, just clarification really, talking about maybe some of the other Giga projects and maybe being registered with the government procurement system, MEED. You're not automatically registered as a vendor if you've already registered as a vendor for other Giga projects or for the government procurement system. You do have to register uniquely with Red Sea Global for your website. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so we would encourage again everyone to go onto the RSG website and register yourself. As you said, Ben, you've seen potentially $100 million contracts plus awarded to companies who've attended a presentation like this, registered, and won such a large contracts within just 6 months from presentation to contract award. Yeah.
And a couple of those now, I'm even more proud to say, who've moved their regional headquarters to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is another part of the Vision 2030. So about the economic diversification and growing the capability here within the kingdom. So yeah, it's really amazing to see the power of tourism development, at its best. It's great.
Yeah, it's clearly the place to be right now, and just looking at that pipeline of projects. It's quite clear that there needs to be as many contractors and suppliers as possible. And so no tender bonds, no tender fees, flexible payments. You really are keen, aren't you, to attract companies?
Absolutely. Trying to change the way that we do business, change the perception of the market in Saudi Arabia, and facilitate lasting relationships with companies. We don't want to deal on a transactional basis. We want companies to come in, build our projects with us, and then move on to the next project. Not the old style where they come in, get beaten up for a year until the project's finished, and then end up in a dispute and don't want to work together again. That doesn't work for us. And we strive to make sure that challenges arise on construction projects wherever you are in the world, but we're mature enough to face into those and deal with them as we go along. And not leave things to wait until the end of the project.
Fantastic. Well, we're nearly approaching the end of this session. Thank you all for your questions, and to Ben also for answering them. I've got one final one here. Are there any specific needs right now that you're particularly interested in, whether that's materials, services, firms, contractors, suppliers, or is it just everything is needed?
it's a two-part. Yeah, everything is needed is the simple and straightforward answer to that. You know, we've got a wide range of procurement requirements at any point in time. You know, not just, as I say, you know, consultant and construction related, but also then as we go into those operations work streams, and they, you know, they could be things supporting our mobility or supply chain and logistics. We've got downstream subsidiaries now providing water sports and entertainments to the guests and the customers. So it's very broad ranging, and you know, we need a lot of stuff. Some particular focus areas, timber facades and timber facade features feature quite a lot in the architectural designs for a number of our hotels, and we do struggle in the region because they aren't widely used here. So any suppliers of you know, those type of timber products, please do register if you aren't registered with us. There's lots of opportunities, and I think statistic wise we've got about 30,000 cubic meters of architectural timber products to procure over the next 9 months or so for the pipeline of projects. So yeah, there we go.
Good news for timber suppliers then. Yeah, and but of course that's just illustrative of the kind of sort of demand for materials you're going to have going forward. So really exciting. Again, I would urge you all to register. You've got nothing to lose, and the tenders will start flowing in, and there's opportunities for everyone wherever you are. And of course, Red Sea Global, Ben, are very helpful in helping out companies if they've got any problems at all registering, any questions, you're there for them.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, everyone. Well, we've had more than I think 1,200 attendees today, which just reflects the amount of interest there is right now in the Saudi Arabia Giga projects, but in particular on Red Sea Global. Absolutely amazing project, Ben. Look, I was looking at them and I was thinking, I really want to go there and check it out for myself and stay in some of those amazing hotels. Yeah, I'm sure many of you all attending today would be thinking the same. So absolutely fantastic project. Well done to you. Congratulations to you and the team at Red Sea Global for having delivered it so far, and all the best for the future. And I'm hoping that many people here today will be working on Red Sea Global projects over the next year, 18 months. We've collected some of your questions, so if it's okay, Ben, we may be sending some of them over to you for, you know, maybe to contact some of them to answer them directly. And as I mentioned, we've recorded this presentation, it will be uploaded, and we'll also send you this presentation itself shortly. So thank you all very much for your attention. Thank you once again, Ben. It's been a pleasure having you on board with us today, answering everyone's questions, and all the best for the future. Looks like you've got a lot on your plate. You're going to be busy for many years to come.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome, and maybe we'll have you here this time next year to update us further. And I just want to say to you all, thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it useful, and we'll see you all again next month for our next webinar. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks very much.